Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Sidereal Insights Astro Update for February 28th, 2021. I'm Phaedra. I'm the astrologer and artist of Mystick Physick Astrology, and what we do here on Sidereal Insights is every 2 weeks we explore the astrology of the current planetary transits across the heavens from a Western sidereal perspective. And so I use Western sidereal astrology in my practice. Really, the idea is to help you reconnect with your soul purpose and to remember why it is you came into this life to begin with. That's what I enjoy doing. And my aim with these broadcasts is really to help provide guidance on how you can consciously use the energy of the transiting planets to affect your life in a positive way. So it's about learning to be responsive rather than reactive, and tapping into the transits as they happen rather than just letting them buffet us about in life. And so thank you for watching. Please like and share the broadcast. If you know someone who might be interested in what we're going to be talking about here today, please tag them. Feel free to share or email. You can also follow Mystick Physick Astrology on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us on Patreon and at anchor.fm. And so today we're going to be talking about a bit of a transit recap to kind of get you oriented with where we're at right now in terms of astrological activity. We're going to be talking about the late February full moon in Leo and what's coming up before the next new moon in Aquarius at the mid-month. The 11th? The 12th? The 13th? I don't remember, but coming up, we'll have the date here just shortly for you in the broadcast. If you need to look up your sidereal sign placements, you can use the free and easy online calculator at mystickphysick.com/siderealtools. So first, diving in, let's recap where we're at with the current transit activity. So all planets right now are in direct motion and have been since Mercury went direct on February 21st. Yahoo! They will be all in direct motion until the 27th of April when Pluto retrogrades. Pluto is the first of our outer planets to begin the mid-year retrograde season. So that window of direct opportunity that is just now really getting underway is open for about 1.5 months this year. It's kind of a different length of time every year, mostly depending on what Mercury's doing. He's the most mobile of all the planetary retrogrades, shall we say, in terms of how quickly he moves through the zodiac and how much he shifts from year to year in terms of when he's retrograde. And it just has to do with the rate of Mercury's travel, the fact that he's the fastest moving planet in the solar system, if we're not talking about the luminaries, right? If we're talking about just the actual planets. And so we have, during this 1.5 month long window of opportunity, it is the 13th, of March, where we're going to have our first new moon. That's the new moon in Aquarius, and then we'll have our second new moon at the new moon in Pisces. That one is the 11th of April. I knew the 11th was a new moon date coming up. And so those are the two new moons you're going to have this year for making major initiations on the things that are most important to you to accomplish this year. So I would be looking at the astrology of both of those new moons and taking a quick look at where they fall in relation to your natal chart or the charts of your business, depending on what it is you're wanting to make an initiation on, and make a plan for which one you want to use to launch what. Use them both if you so desire, right? Right now we have Mercury no longer retrograde, but still in Capricorn. Right? So he backtracked into Capricorn earlier in February on the 3rd after just briefly entering Aquarius. He was in Aquarius for all of like a week. He re-entered Capricorn. Now he's returned to direct motion. He's still in Capricorn. So this is a good opportunity for you to be implementing some of those changes that you identified were necessary while he was retrograde in Capricorn. And you can do that through the remainder of his shadow period, which, let's move that out of the way and take a look at the planner here. His shadow period is going to end on the 12th of March, so just in time for the March new moon. and also just in time for him to move back into Aquarius. That takes place on the 12th. So the rest of the Mercury retrograde shadow period is in Capricorn, and you can leverage that as a time for implementing needed changes that Mercury's retrograde brought to your attention. Okay. And a couple of things that you might want to consider while he's finishing his move through Capricorn is where are you expending your social capital and influence? And whether there's any relationship that maybe has struggled since the beginning of the year, whether through a destructive argument that cost a friendship or some other type of situation, anything that came up since the beginning of the year where you may want to either seek a reconciliation with someone or even just reach out to them to kind of clear the air on an issue, even if there is no opportunity for reconciliation. And so I would encourage you to use these last few weeks of Mercury in Capricorn during the rest of the shadow period. Maybe do that if that's something that is necessary. Okay. Now he re-enters Aquarius on March 12th. We're going to be talking about his tour through Aquarius on the next broadcast, right? We also have Venus in Aquarius right now. Venus entered Aquarius the same day that Mercury stationed direct. And we talked about that on the last broadcast as being a potential opportunity for transformation with your relationship with others and how that can bring value. It can bring emotional fulfillment. That it's a time to destroy and rebuild. Venus's chart entering into Aquarius described the potential for busy public life and shakeups to public perception or status. Talked about the potential of her tour through Aquarius bringing financial or partnership disruption or instability. And how financial disappointments related to other people's resources could be possible while Venus is touring Aquarius, and that right action may be one means by which you can overcome that. So what is right action? Well, that's particular to your life and to your situation and to your charts and to your transits. But right action may be one remedy, not necessarily to gain you access to other people's resources, but perhaps to move you through or around the obstacle of actually needing them. Maybe you have other ways in which you can tap into the needed resources that you're trying to bring into your life. It's about acting in your own best interest and taking a leap of faith towards your dream. Okay, and that dynamic is active through March 17th while Venus is in Aquarius. Okay, we have Mars also in Taurus right now. That began February 23rd, so just last month. It's hard to believe February is already over. That will last until April 15th. And so the idea there is that you need to be taking action in your Taurus house to transform circumstances, events, experiences there can have a surprising effect on your public image or career in a good way, right? If you're taking initiative, if you're taking right action, it's a time for plowing and planting. That's what this tour of Mars through Taurus is. It's a time for working the earth, for tending, for sowing the seeds of what you want in the future. And I mean that figuratively as well as literally if you're here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a time for plowing and planting. Keep your actions and your motivations secret until it's the right time to go public with your transformation, or the right time to give birth to whatever it is you're gestating, whether that's a thing or an idea, doesn't matter. Keep it private and personal to you until the time is right to give birth to it into the world, right? I would also call out, don't get too comfortable. That's another signature of this transit of Mars and Taurus. Don't get too comfortable. It's a reminder that comfort leads to stagnation and atrophy. And none of those are desirable things, right? In a continually expanding universe, take care of your spiritual needs. and engage in grounding practices. That's one thing that I would really strongly advise while Mars is in Taurus. And there is, with this transit, a risk of being overly bullheaded and obstinate. There's a risk of bullying behavior, especially even worse once Mars goes out of bound on March 21st. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up in the next broadcast as well. We've also got Jupiter back in Capricorn. He's been back there since the 25th of November, and he will only be there for a little over a month now until April 6th. He'll leave into Aquarius, and then during his retrograde, Jupiter's retrograde over the summer months will bring him back into Capricorn for a period of time. So we'll have a kind of a final opportunity to take care of any unfinished business in Capricorn later this year, but we're only going to have Jupiter's primary strength in our Capricorn house for a little over another month, right? This is an opportunity where I said to move towards truth, start with dialogue, and to not be satisfied with appearances or perceptions, to be aiming instead for actual, tangible, real life results and using those as your measure of success. Okay. Got Saturn also in Capricorn. Of course, that's been going on for more than a year now, and he will be there until late January 2023. So Capricorn is where we're all being tested, whatever house that lands in for you in your sidereal natal chart. That's where you're going to be doing the hard work until late January 2023. So expect to be tested in that area of life. Saturn, of course, when he transits a house or a sign, he's looking for weakness, and he will show you where that weakness is. Okay. We just had our full moon in Leo as well. I'll talk a little bit about that on this broadcast, but for the full broadcast about our full moon in Leo, along with the guided releasing practice, you'll want to watch the full moon in Leo guided releasing practice video that I just uploaded to the website. I'll share a link for that in the video description so that you have that. We just had this full moon exact February 27th at 13 degrees 55 minutes of Leo, exact at 8:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. The sun, of course, ruling from his position of detriment in Aquarius. So this is a full moon when you can be spontaneous, and I would encourage you to be receptive to sudden insights or strokes of genius, especially if there's an area in your life where you have felt stuck, or an area of your life where it has been on your mind a lot lately. Be open and receptive to sudden insights or strokes of genius or strokes of inspiration about the path forward. There's a potential with this full moon for an opportunity for a moment of clarity if you have been feeling unsure about what to do. And so I would encourage you to be open to that moment of clarity, and when it strikes, don't hesitate to take action on that clarity that comes to you, especially if you have been uncertain or unsure or unclear about something for a long period of time, and especially if it's something that has kept you feeling stuck. Definitely watch for that stroke of insight or inspiration about the way to move forward or the path forward or the right thing to do, whatever that is for you. We also, with this full moon, have an opportunity to shine in social settings and social activity. And I would encourage you, of course, we are in the middle of a global pandemic, so please do that responsibly. Spontaneity at this full moon can make us socially attractive, right? And spontaneity, I think, speaks to courage, right? Or confidence, self-confidence, right? But that's not necessarily the same thing as impulsiveness. And I think impulsiveness in general, especially when the full moon tends to make us more impulsive than normal, this is where detriment can show up, right? Because Mars sometimes is, Aquarius, this is about sudden and unexpected things. So we can be impulsive with this energy, and even more so when it's the full moon there. But this is where detriment can show its face for us is in just being impulsive without giving it a lot of forethought, without bringing wisdom to bear into the equation, right? But spontaneity can be a way that you can tap into that impulsive energy of this full moon and enjoy it and use it to your advantage, okay? So try not to be impulsive unless you're taking an impulsive step towards manifesting a long-held hope or dream that you hold in your Leo house. That's one way that you could tap into the spontaneous nature of this full moon. Use your creative mind to find novel, unusual, and inventive ways to socialize or to make new friends or to coordinate group activities. Those are appropriate expressions of the full moon in Leo energy, while the sun is in detriment, right? If something has disappointed in a love or money matter, this is an opportunity to transform your approach. So have an antenna up for insight or inspiration into what this is or what to do, whatever the path forward is for you. And during this full moon, you may realize your desire. It's in the chart, like that literal phrase, realize your desire, is in the chart. And so what I would encourage you to do in light of that, take action. Because action is required to realize your desire. In other words, to fulfill it. Okay? Speak your truth. Stand in your courage. All appropriate things with this full moon. Okay? Now, coming up, on to the next thing. Coming up, we have Venus sextile Uranus. Just in a few days, we actually have some interesting Venus, Sun, Neptune activity all going on in this early part of the month. Excuse me. Bit of a dry throat. Excuse me while I take a drink there. All right, so Venus, first we have this sextile with Uranus, and then we have a little bit of a dance with Neptune later on. And so those who have Libra strong in your chart as sun or rising sign, or if you have Taurus strong in your chart as sun or rising sign, you'll want to pay attention to Venus's activity early in the month of March. March 3rd, we have Venus's sextile with Uranus, and that could bring an unexpected insight into a partnership or money matter, including bringing clues into what action to take or what direction to go with regard to business, financial, or partnership matters. And so if any of those resonate for you as ongoing issues, I don't want to say issues, but ongoing areas of concern or awareness in your life, just be aware that that potential for this sextile to Uranus to kind of like give you a clue as to what direction to take, how to navigate that. That could be coming for you here in the next couple of days, so just be aware. On the 5th, we have Mercury's 3rd conjunction with Jupiter. This is the post-retrograde conjunction with Jupiter on March 5th before he re-enters Aquarius for good on March 12th. So this 3rd conjunction is also in Capricorn. The first we had January 11th. The second we had January 14th in Capricorn. So be thinking back to those dates, January 11th and February 14th, because issues that came up that were significant for you back during those dates may also come up again on or near the 5th of March, and potentially for a resolution. Potentially for a final solution or a final stage, a final evolution of whatever that theme was. It's not always that we have 3 conjunctions between Mercury and Jupiter in a year, but with Mercury's retrograde this time around, and we're hit in the Capricorn Aquarius set of houses, we have the benefit of that. And so be thinking back to those dates. It's yet another important date for Gemini and Virgo sun and rising signs. So mark that in your calendar if that's you. Expect delays in spiritual or professional progress, in advancement or recognition. Just kind of a heads up around that date, March 5th. Creative expression, hopes and dreams are in focus on March 5th. in the sense of what we must keep working diligently toward. So it's not time to be taking your foot off the gas, even though Jupiter is involved. You may experience unexpected or last-minute home or family obligations near that date. It's a date for big negotiations and big talks. And I'm not saying that necessarily you should be doing those that day, that they're auspicious that day. I'm just saying that the chart for that day has the signature of big talks. So expect the potential for big talks to come up near March the 5th. But those efforts, the big talks, the big negotiations, the hopes and dreams that you have in focus and what you must keep working diligently toward, those efforts will be worthwhile. The chart also says that. Those efforts are worthwhile, especially just after the coming new moon in March. Okay? We have on the 11th, the Sun Neptune Conjunction. Now I want to call out the Sun and Neptune are also parallel at this time. So it's almost like the effect of having a double conjunction. It amplifies that conjunctive energy when we have parallel taking place at a conjunction as well. It's taking place in Aquarius. This is a time when we may finally be seeing things clearly or seeing something as if for the first time. Maybe something we never saw clearly before. And we may finally be seeing it as if for the first time. The Sun-Neptune conjunction is about burning through the fog, or seeing through the haze, or seeing through the gaslighting even. It's about the actualization of dreams. It's about taking action for change. At least this year's conjunction is specifically about taking action for change. And there's the possibility of epiphanies or strokes of insight or a stroke of genius or a touch of genius to be active on that date. The very next day, March the 12th, Mercury re-enters Aquarius. This is for the second time. And Mercury will be unaspected on that date, save for a parallel again with the moon. And so what that says to me is that Mercury's transit through Aquarius is going to be potentially a little bit unpredictable, maybe rather cerebral, and for an air sign, maybe even a little bit emotional. There's a potential for family talks, discussions, negotiations involving or about or with a strong presence of a female figure, or discussions or negotiation or talks about women's roles or a female role in particular. There's the potential, while Mercury makes his way through Aquarius, for relationship tension, for conflict and aggression in partnerships. And then there's also potential for real estate negotiations or just discussions around residence or residential circumstances in general. And then we move on the 13th right into the new moon in Aquarius. And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. We'll kind of recap it next time as one of our recent activities when we have our next Sidereal Insights Astro update broadcast in 2 weeks. So this will be the first new moon of 2021 with all the planets in direct motion, right? We know that Uranus rules, Saturn co-rules as a traditional ruler of Aquarius. And those two planets are square to each other right now. At the time of the new moon, it's going to be a separating square. So the energy will have reached its peak, but we'll be dealing with the aftermath of that square at the new moon. And it really says things about the loss of access to a partner's resources or a block or delay of access to other people's resources, things that might, maybe like a business loan or something like that. Just things that you need in order to be able to do what you got to do, but that you don't have or own or have access to, but that other people might be able to help you gain access to. And what the chart of the new moon in Aquarius says to me is that taking that loss, facing that loss, of access is the only path forward. It's a chart that literally screams the only way out is through, right? So we'll have to learn to deal with or work with whatever this block or loss or lack of access is. We'll have to take it as writ and plow ahead, forge ahead, move ahead anyway, even though it's not potentially what we were hoping for, not what we needed, or not what was desired. But that disappointment is baked in, basically. There's potential for disappointment in manifesting a long-held hope or dream. Maybe a dream crumbles or falls apart. Something that's been in manifestation for a long time. Maybe it reaches its end. It also speaks to destabilization in friendships or business income. Destabilization in social lives or social networks. That behind the scenes activity may help secure whatever that needed funding or resources is, or that behind the scenes activity could influence estate, will, investment, financial planning, things like that. Could influence research or analysis or investigation. Right? So there's definitely some sort of behind the scenes activity tied in with the new moon in Aquarius. And there is, again, because of that, an opportunity to focus some attention on relaxation, on self-care. And so if those things are necessary, I encourage you to engage in them. Then the day after our new moon, we have Venus conjoining Neptune, right? This comes just a few days after the Sun conjoined Neptune. And of course, Venus is going to be conjunct Neptune and parallel. So that augments and emphasizes and intensifies that conjunction energy. And again, it's in Aquarius because that's where we have Neptune right now. He's one of our slower moving outer planets. And this conjunction of Venus with Neptune in Aquarius speaks to making the private life the daily life. It speaks to an opportunity to make spiritual practice part of the daily routine. It speaks to shared dreams. It speaks to shared aspirations. It speaks to wealth building. It speaks to hesitancy to take creative risks. There's a potential for teaching or lecturing, potentially with private institutions, caregiving at a convalescent nursing home, hospital type of situation. For that period of time, on the 14th, while we have that Venus Neptune conjunction in effect, which will feel the effects for about 3 days, the day before, the day of, the day after, or so, based on Venus's rate of travel. Photography, film, painting, these things are favored during that conjunction. And so if those are hobbies or interests of yours, I would encourage you to use that day to engage them, because it's a new moon. Maybe that's a particularly good time to begin a new creative endeavor in one of those fields, even though you may not feel like taking very much risk creatively. It still can be a good time to engage in those activities. And then looking ahead, beyond mid-month, we'll have the Sun moving into Pisces on March 15th. We'll have Venus moving into Pisces on March 17th. Mars will be going out of bounds on the 21st. That is a big deal. He'll be out of bounds until late May on the 24th. So we'll be dealing with that experience of Mars out of bounds for some time. And we will talk more about that in detail on the next Sidereal Insights Astro update, March 14th at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to go check out the new Mystick Physick Astrology podcast at anchor.fm/Mystick Physick. You can find it on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Also invite you to follow Mystick Physick Astrology on Facebook, to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/Mystick Physick Astrology. And don't forget to click on that notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. You can also check out the different membership levels for supporting the broadcast at patreon.com/Mystick Physick, and support the broadcast for as little as $3.33 a month and get exclusive access to some special goodies. And don't forget to order your Ultimate Astrological Planner, your 2021 Ultimate Astrological Planner, online at mystickphysick.com/2021. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you all again next time.